I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand and join me in pledge of allegiance immediately following a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please note that this meeting is a public meeting, is being recorded, and will be posted on the county's YouTube channel in the near future. Since the last time the Board of Commissioners met, we have had no executive sessions that I can think of. There were at least 2 times that Commissioner Eggleston and I were in the room together. One was on the 15th at the BEI Appreciation Lunch, where we were both awarded an appreciation certificate. And basically the entire time at CCAP we were running into each other. That was this past weekend. Since the last meeting, I can't think of any correspondence that needs to be brought to the public. Okay, so announcement about the budget. The budget has to be out for 20 days for review. It will be voted on the 26th of December. Therefore, it needs to be at least 20 days before that. We are planning on releasing it on December 4th. Mr. Hearn you've completed your draft, and we'll be sending that to the commissioners for review over the weekend and the first couple days of next week. When would you like any edits back to you, on Monday or Tuesday?
Monday or Tuesday would be fine.
Okay, so the 2nd or 3rd, and then you'll incorporate the changes and have it out for public review in the commissioner's office / fiscal office December 4th by noon. Good? Okay. Any public comment? Hearing none on the agenda, let's just move on with the agenda. Have you had a chance to move the minutes?
Move the minutes?
Would you please move the minutes?
I will move the minutes.
I'll second. Discussion? Okay, fiscal report?
You have the finance report in front of you. We're running a little ahead from last year at this point. We do need to move, as you might remember earlier in the year, we had loaned ourselves kind of about $200,000 for the prison locks. We just need to do that before the end of the year. Want to move that back preferably. So that we can do in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Other than that, nothing really to report on that front.
Can we, at some point, get a report on the interest savings as we've drawn from the TAN? We normally, at this point, would have drawn $3.5 million. This year, due to the efforts of the Finance Office, have only drawn $1.5 million off of the TAN, which is a $2 million savings, and which would have to translate into pretty substantial interest savings.
Looking back at time, the interest rates were different, so I can't compare year after year.
Oh yeah, no,
So
absolutely.
interest rates were different, but I mean, historically, we budgeted $30,000 a year for interest. You know, we spent, like half that, if not a little more.
Yeah, which is quite
Less
a
than half
money.
of that. So, yeah, definitely north of $10,000 in savings.
Oh, that's great.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, one proclamation on the agenda for Thanksgiving. Whereas in July 1620, more than 100 pilgrims boarded the Mayflower, fleeing religious persecution and seeking freedom and opportunity of a new and unfamiliar place. These dauntless souls arrived in Plymouth, Massachusetts in the freezing cold of December 1620. They were greeted by sickness and severe weather and quickly lost 46 of their fellow travelers. Those who endured the incredible hardship of their first year in America, however, had many reasons for gratitude. They had survived, they were free, and with the help of the Wampanoag tribe and a bountiful harvest, they were regaining their health and strength. And thanks to God for those blessings, the new governor of Plymouth Colony, William Bradford, proclaimed a day of Thanksgiving and gathered with the Wampanoag tribe for 3 days of celebration. Whereas for the next 2 centuries, many individual colonies and states, primarily in the Northeast, carried on the tradition of a fall Thanksgiving festivity, but each state celebrated it on a different day and sometimes on an occasional basis. It was not until 1863 that the holiday was celebrated on one day nationwide. In the aftermath of the Battle of Gettysburg, one of the bloodiest battles of our nation's Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln proclaimed that the country would set aside one day to remember its many blessings. Quote, in the midst of a civil war of unequaled magnitude and severity, President Lincoln proclaimed, we recall the bounties which are so constantly enjoyed that we are prone to forget the source from which they come. End quote. Whereas today we continue to celebrate Thanksgiving with a grateful and charitable spirit, when we open our hearts and extend our hands to those in need, we show humility for the bountiful gifts we have received. This Thanksgiving, in addition to rejoicing in precious time spent with our loved ones, let us find ways to serve and encourage each other in both word and deed. We also offer a special word of thanks for the brave men and women in our armed forces, many of whom must celebrate this holiday separated from the ones whom they are for which they are most thankful. Now therefore be it resolved that Warren County Commissioners proclaim November 28, 2019 as Thanksgiving Day in Warren County. Comment? Very good. Then I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda, the minutes, the fiscal report, and that proclamation.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Discussion. All those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Motion carries. There's no old business on the agenda. New business. There's a reappointment to the RDA and an appointment to the RDA. And in order to introduce that, I'd like to ask Pam to present it.
We are asking, the RDA of Warren County is asking for a reappointment of Charles Barone for another 5-year term to sit on our authority to begin January 1st of 2020, and it will expire in December 31st of 2024. Also, we're asking that you appoint Robert Hart of Clarendon Borough to fill the vacancy that was left by John Zavinsky to finish out his term, which will expire on December 2022.
Very good. Do you hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2 appointments as presented.
I'll second. Discussion. Thank you, Pam. Any public comment? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries for Charles Barone and Robert Hart. Real estate property tax collection agreement. I'd ask that Mr. Hearn inform us about this agreement.
Back, I forget how many months ago, kind of stumbled upon this 41-year-old agreement that the county had with the city relative to tax collection. It was slightly amended 37 years ago. However, I felt it was probably time to tighten up with just a wee bit more and get it a little more current. So I worked with the city on that, and I have that collection agreement in front of you. It tightens up the language, and it also, there's potential cost savings to the county in this agreement as well. And working with them, they've been able to reduce our costs about, this year, about $4,000, $4,000 to $5,000 because of this new agreement. So I ask for your approval of this new agreement. It is, we can revisit this in the future. It's an annual type of thing. Like we can notify them each year if we want to do other modifications. It also has to be approved by the city council, and then I think the city manager is going to forward it up to the school district as well.
Very good. Any questions? I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with the city.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next on the agenda is an inmate commissary agreement with the Waste Management Systems. And here to present that would be Warden Collins, and I know, I'll warn you now, that Attorney Schmidt has a couple of edits to make to it on the floor. Warden?
We've had our current commissary provider for about 4.5 years now, and we've looked at other commissary providers, and we feel we've found one that better suits our needs. And I would like to change to this new commissary provider. First week of February, we need to give 60-day notice. I did speak with the county solicitor, and there are a couple language things in the contract that we do need to address. But at this point, I would like to seek approval for going with our new commissary provider based on the changes we make in the contract.
Remind me, this is really the previous one when we're bringing back, right?
Yes, yes.
Oasis served as our commissary for how long? Years?
20+ years. We were their first customer. We went away from Oasis with a new company for the last 4.5 years. Oasis has actually reached out to us. I feel they've earned our business. The commissions will remain the same, but the benefit package with the change in commissary providers is phenomenal. It's a lot better than what we currently have.
Okay. Attorney Schmidt?
I only had 2 comments on the first page. The second paragraph, there's just an ambiguity. The contract runs from January 1st, 2020 until January 1st, 2024. The next line says at the end of 5 full years. I think we would just edit that to say 4 full years.
Yes.
Okay.
The only other edit that I had and I recommended was at the very last page before the signature lines, subsection D of section 20, and just to eliminate that, so right of first refusal on part of Oasis. I think that's an administrative burden on the prison, and it I think it's a possible conflict with the termination rates that we have, if necessary. Hopefully not.
Right.
That's it.
Did the chief clerk report that?
Yes.
Changes? Okay. I would make a motion to approve the agreement with Oasis.
I would second it with the understanding that the changes being recommended by the solicitor are enacted.
Yes, thank you for the friendly amendment. Any further discussion? Public comment? All those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next is an agreement with the state regarding community development block grant program. Basically, the county CDBG money went to pay some attorneys for blight review, and the project stalled before actually demolition happened. From the county's perspective, the blight was remediated, so we thought everything was fine. The state felt differently, basically saying that the only acceptable way for blight to be remediated under CDBG rules was to have it demolished, and as a consequence, there was some figure, I believe it was in the ballpark of 15,000, 16, thank you, oh, $16,303 that the DCD found ineligible. So what they would like to have happen is for us on a 3-year basis to pay $5,430 back from our general fund into our CDBG funds to be still used for the same eligible CDBG purposes. Excuse me, not necessarily general fund, it could be any county-derived fund. So something like an Act 13 pot or something to that effect would be acceptable. Any questions?
I would just say that that didn't necessarily stall. The properties were transferred to the RDA, and the pot of money for DCD is specifically for demolition, and so the properties were remediated through other owners, transfer of property, and so from the county's perspective at the time, it was remediating the blight. So they're being a little bit critical of the regulations. Either way, the money, it isn't necessarily, I wouldn't say that it was a huge error on the county's part because the property, or I shouldn't say the county's part, the RDA's part, because the properties were remediated. They just weren't demolished. So,
Right, so
either way, the money's going to address blight.
yeah, this is essentially just forcing us to do something that we were already planning on doing.
Anyway, yeah.
I mean, we were planning on throwing 5,000 or so a year anyway at blight remediation.
Yep.
I guess now it's going from 5,000 to 504, or 5,400 something. So not a big deal. All right, I would move to approve the CDBG retained agreement.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Public comment or questions? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Personnel transaction reports. There were no new hires or separations. However, Jacob Nugent at the 911 Center, effective on the 3rd of December, will be going from a full-time dispatcher to a part-time dispatcher at the same rate. I move to ratify the personnel transaction report.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
All right, any closing comments?
Happy Thanksgiving.
I was gonna make a comment about the, about the budget, in the process. As you know, we've got new financial software. The budget will be presented with a new format. And I just wanna show you a visual. This is the old budget, and this is the new budget. And that's just one of the nice reporting differences between the two. So, we're excited to finish our training and getting things implemented. There'll be a lot of, a lot of bumps in any transition, so I expect to be busy December and January, but then it'll mellow out, so.
The other thing that we should probably note is that part of the audit identified funds that the county has been receiving, paying for years that never ended up in the budget because it wasn't in the general fund.
Right, so this year, in 2020, there will be, the budget will look different, total top line number and expense side, because some of those have been migrated into the general fund budget process this year for our external auditors' recommendations, so.
Also per the EIP recommendation of consolidating and streamlining the chart of accounts. You'll
It's a
see,
brand new chart of accounts,
Right.
brand new department numbers.
and as a consequence, you can't really do an apples and apples comparison. So if you look at the budget and you say, oh, look, the commissioner's budget went up, I don't know, whatever, 200%. Well, that's because we
A lot of
moved,
things
like,
got moved around, yeah.
legal, solicitor, and all of that under one. Your fiscal office went significantly up.
That
because
wasn't
of
for your
some
office
transfer.
renovation?
Yes, it was not because of my office renovations, which I'm hoping to spend under $50 on.
Well, I was wondering
For
why there was a
paint.
stack of paper you're trying to recycle. Well, I think the other big thing is the move to consolidate the healthcare in one bucket. Previously, that'll affect a lot of those budgets. What
They
people
look
got
different, yeah.
if you were going to compare them to last year. So,
Will the departments be able to go in and look at their budget on a periodic basis?
Not in January, but you'll start getting automatic emails sent to you with your budget monthly,
In February.
probably in February. I mean, automatic ones. You can always, you can always ask me and I'll give it to you right when you want it, but the goal will be to have it automatically just sent. And if there's, the sheet you're traditionally used to seeing, it'll look very similar, except probably a little nicer looking, but you'll get that every month, the same
if
day.
there's an item that you go over and there'll be a picture of Eric.
That comes automatic, it's like, nice try, see you next year.
No soup for you.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned, thank you very much.